The concept of communication over a distance, or telecommunication as we know it today, is as old as humanity itself. From the early days of smoke signals, drums and carrier pigeons, to telegraphs, radio, fixed-line phones, and now cellular technology and the internet, our civilization has grown and developed, lockstep with every great breakthrough in the area of telecommunications. Telecommunications in India began with the telegraph in the 1850s, setting up what is one of the world's oldest telecom network. By 1882, telephone exchanges were opened in Kolkata, Mumbai and Chennai. The Indian Telegraph Act 1885 also came into force from 1st October 1885 and still is the foundation of the legislative framework for the telecommunications sector in the country. The Central Exchange, located in Kolkata in its early stages, had a modest 93 subscribers only. Since then, it has grown exponentially, accelerating at an astonishing rate in the last 20 years to 1.2 billion today.
1991, the telecom sector was opened up for private entry. But when private sector comes in, there is a need to provide an independent regulator. 1997, 20th February, TRAI was established. We started a process of consultation papers, and then we would bring out an order, a regulation, and we added what we called explanatory memorandum, which was the transparency of our decision making. So it became a very intense yet transparent and inclusive process. In fact, the first time a prize was instituted for the best regulator in telecom in Asia Pacific, it was given to the TRAI. The telecom policy of 1999, it basically brought in the revenue share, it brought in changes and a forward-looking approach, a reform-oriented approach under the government of then Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji.
Oh, this has been one of the greatest revolutions in the history of India, I would say. If you go back before 1991, telephones were extremely scarce, extremely difficult to get. Mr. Narayan Murthy of Infosys says that even for his software company, it took him more than 1 year to get a telephone connection. That's how difficult it was. And today, it's not only instantly available, we have 1 billion cell phones. Incredible, everybody has it. People below the poverty line have it. And it has been a great enabler, it has been a great creator of opportunity. So it has been a fantastic form of empowerment for the ordinary citizen. Not only that, I remember when it started off, I think the price of a call was 18 rupees a minute or something. It has come now to virtually free.
In January 2004, the government brought broadcasting and cable services within the ambit of TRAI. By providing a fair and transparent policy environment which promotes a level playing field and facilitates fair competition, TRAI has nurtured the unprecedented growth of this industry as well.
On the broadcasting side, I think, again, the important things were, how do you determine a reserve price for an FM radio station? And once again, we developed a methodology, we came up with prices, and hopefully that will now become the standard norm. The second thing we did was we determined a process for TV ratings. How should TV ratings be done? How should they be measured? How many consumers should be in the loop? Why should there be independence of measurement? We devised new, we sort of reinvented, if you would like to say, or reformed, better word, the licensing system for direct television, direct-to-home television. And we did a similar thing with radio channels, with FM radio channels. That is, make it transparent, give licenses clearly, enable licenses to be renewed. In a sense, we rewrote the book on the licensing of such channels.
Today, television and radio are the most penetrative medias in India. At present, 6 pay direct-to-home DTH operators in the country offer 900 channels, reaching a subscriber base of 120 million. Meanwhile, the number of private FM radio stations has grown to 281. These channels of mass communication have been utilized by both government and private players to deliver a wide variety of content that ranges from entertainment to news and rural outreach programs.
During this period, TRAI had taken a number of consumer-centric initiatives. Since we were receiving a number of metering and billing related complaints from the consumers, TRAI notified a code for billing and metering and also made it mandatory for the telecom service providers to get their metering and billing system audited every year by TRAI notified auditors. In addition, we took a number of measures regarding TRAI framework, like introduction of minimum 10 rupees micro recharge, removal of roaming rental, putting a ceiling on roaming tariff. With the introduction of calling party pay regime and growth in the number of subscribers, a new business entity coming into the sector called telemarketers. So these telemarketers, they started advertising or promoting their products, services through telephone calls and SMS. This led to TRAI in 2007 putting up a framework for do not call registry. In this registry, any consumer who do not want to receive such promotional calls can register, and in case a telemarketer calls that number, then it was heavily fined. In 2009, TRAI laid down the regulatory framework for mobile number portability, wherein a consumer can change his service provider without changing his mobile number. Till date, around 270 million consumers have availed this facility.
While India continued its march in the voice connectivity unabated, there was not much movement in the broadband and the delivery of data. You must also realize that India has the history of not having too many fixed lines. So we have just about 20 million fixed lines, and when the mobile came, the number of fixed lines did not increase. In fact, they decreased in some sense. So we continue to have this sluggishness in the market for data delivery. That changed when in 2010 the government auctioned the 3G and then 4G spectrum auctions took place. We also changed the licensing conditions to dissociate a spectrum with its uses. So therefore now it is possible to have a spectrum and then use it for whatever kind of service you want to deliver on that. So that's another liberalization which took place.
One of the most important decisions at that time or during that time was to develop a process or a methodology for how to determine reserve prices for spectrum. And we spent a long time doing that, and ultimately that methodology has now been accepted in the sense it has been tested in the market and it has been replicated for pricing of other spectrum. So that is one very important decision.
And of course there has been a series of liberalizations in terms of spectrum sharing, spectrum trading and virtual network operators. So I think the capacity for the network that also continued to increase, and the delivery of data and data connectivity also has increased. Today India has about 390 million internet subscribers, and that figure is supposed to cross 500 million by the end of this year. And I think there are a number of things which can be done to accelerate this data connectivity further.
और इसलिए हमारा सपना है डिजिटल इंडिया। जब मैं डिजिटल इंडिया कहता हूं तब ये बड़े लोगों की बात नहीं है, एक गरीब के लिए,
With such a diversified communication system in place, which links all parts of the country by telephone, internet, radio and television, it is no wonder then that the Government of India launched ambitious plans like Digital India in 2015 and Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile or JAM Trinity in 2016, both of which rely heavily on a robust and pervasive telecom connectivity.
The first pillar of that Digital India is essentially broadband connectivity. So we need to have broadband which is ubiquitous, which is reliable, which is robust and which is also affordable. TRAI has been very proactive in the sense that in about 2 years back, in April of 2015, we brought out a paper on how we can increase the broadband penetration in our country. Thereafter, we have been giving suggestions to the government. So I think with all these three, four measures, which is the BharatNet in PPP mode, using digital cable TV infrastructure, liberalizing these satellite data delivery, and also creation of Wi-Fi hotspots will go a long way in increasing the penetration of broadband availability to our countrymen.
This has been the fastest overcoming of any divide of any kind. From being a tool of the rich when it first started, it is now ubiquitous, it is everywhere. It is in rural areas, it's in mountain areas, it's in people below the poverty line, above the poverty line, people going abroad. So this, I would say, has been the single most revolutionary change I have seen in the last 25 years, affecting everybody.
However, not one to rest on its laurels, TRAI is also geared to face the regulatory challenges on account of rapid technological developments that are the hallmark of these two sectors to remain relevant and ahead of the curve.
In fact, we used to joke that, that the sign of our success would be when we are not needed. We put in such a system that it's on autopilot. The consumer can really get the best service. Of course, you have to monitor quality of service, etc. But not needed in terms of changing the regulatory processes. Once you put in the regulatory processes, then the system keeps moving while you monitor whether it is being implemented properly.
In the last 2 decades, by discharging its recommendatory and regulatory functions, TRAI has contributed significantly to the growth of telecom and broadcasting services in terms of increase in the number of service providers, consumer base and vast network of telecom and broadcasting services across the country. This in effect has reshaped and transformed the lives of every Indian citizen from the way we communicate, work, play, travel, eat, learn, socialize and connect with each other and the rest of the world.